Quest for Glory 2. Second of what was initially supposed to be a 4-game series but became a 5-game series. This game, titled Trial by Fire, is actually I think the first Quest for Glory game I encountered in my life. Now, it continues the story of the hero that you played in the first game. Except now he is headed off to Shapir, which is Persian-based land. It seems that Shapir is in need of a hero. In fact, so is its sister city, Resir. But Shapir is your starting point. And this game can be very deceptive about encounters because your main fights will happen in the desert area, which is just south of Shapir. Now, of course, you arrive in Shapir and with Abdullah and Shamin and Shima. They set up the Catatalian in Shapir. And there is both a human and a slight Kata population in the city. They coexist. The Katas tend to run the majority of the outdoor shops. However, there are several indoor shops, too, that you will have to go to. You have the city acts like a maze. Indoor maze. And you, of course, travel through the city, finding the Heroes Guild. Where you meet, I think, Ahara. I think that's her name. And her little baby son, Simba. You meet Rakesh, a Linotaur. No, not Linotaur. Yeah, Linotaur. Who is also a paladin. So we get introduced to the concept of being a paladin in this game. And you can I think, only do that by being a warrior. And you have to do honorable things. We must eventually make our way. We'll find a weapon shop. We will find in another plaza, we have the fountain where you can refill your water skin. Because you'll need that in the desert. You'll need it for something else later, too. You also have to buy your supplies that you're going to need. And you can bargain. In this game, bargain is simple. You don't have to, cut down the cost. You don't have to try and... You just say bargain and you'll immediately get a bargain. Which is helpful. I mean, you have an apothecary where you must talk to the man before you deal with him because he won't notice you coming in. Bargain with him, you get 3 of the various pills, not potions this time, it's pills. You get 3, you get 4 for the price of 3. You have a magic shop with a jovial character named Kipan Lafan. That's definitely a sign that this game was written by the Coles. You will get a Sora slot, which will be your way of traveling through the city or through the desert. Although the Saurus is a coward, if an enemy approaches you, he will not. He will basically force you off. He'll buck you off and run for the hills. And there's a reason for that too. You'll find an astrologer in town. You will find the big magic user in town, magic caster in town. That is Aziza. You will also run across some interesting little fellows who they'll all disappear by a certain point in the game, and there's an option in the game to turn on funny clowns or silly clowns. And a silly clown, you will occasionally, if you approach an intersection, you will hear it will announce that you hear something odd, noisy approaching, and what will happen is you will have Harpo Marx of the Marx Brothers run by, which is kind of appropriate because Chico Marx is Ali Chica, where you get your map and compass from, as well as directions to the money exchanger. In fact, you'll have to see the money exchanger before you get the map and the compass, so you have to listen to his words. And luckily, you also get a map that comes with the game. Well, it'll be in the part of the feely material. A la chica. You will meet the money exchanger, who will change your money from the last game into the currency in this game. You know, this is actually a good thing when you think about it, because you can carry, if you've imported your character from the previous game, you have a nice little chunk of change set up. Whereas if you do it, they'll just give you a default. If you don't, they give you a default. She's also the head of the city's Thieves Guild. So you just gotta make the thieves sign and, oh, you're a thief. Okay. We'll come back. I may have work for you. There is I think, Guild of Fighters or something like that. That's especially important if you are playing as the fighter. You'll have to deal with that. You also have the Wizards Institute of Technomancy. WIT. Where you will become, you can go to and see about becoming a true wizard. Which, if you go there and go through their test, you can actually be admitted for the 10-year program, but you would have to say no because you've got a job to do. But this is how the game is. Now, there is a prophecy that talks about a hero. You also have a poet named Omar who goes around. And you also learn that the sister city of Rasir is in trouble. Their good leader has disappeared. And you must, well, help Shapir out and then head to Rasir to help them out. Which, once you get to Rasir, things start to really go quickly. However, in Shapir, you have a limit. You have to get things done before the caravan to Rasir departs, because you got to be on that caravan. And that means you must work your way through the town, go out to the desert to get things, which you'll find out as the time progresses. But the town comes under assault by the elements, the elementals first. And each elemental you encounter, you have to figure out how to beat. And sometimes you could get this they'll tell you who to get this information from. Aziza will always be a fount of figuring to help figure out things. First, you must deal with the fire elemental. Then, you will have to deal with the air elemental. After that, you will have to deal with the earth elemental and finally the water elemental, which is somewhat the most dangerous one in the desert. Now, of course, each hero and that each style you play as is going to have a different way of handling this. I mean, magic users will of course have to get something to do the task with, or they already have something to get the task done with. In fact, getting one item to help stop the one elemental requires a little thievery. Heroes, they have to find another way to do some of these things. I mean, each task has its own challenges depending on who you are. Now, you have to, whilst also trying to take out the elements, you must also deal with other things. You will find out about a being in the desert known as the whirling dervish. Basically, a man with a very long beard that loops around a tree multiple times. And he will tell you that there is a beast in the cage in the desert. You'll need to get a dispel potion. To get a dispel potion, you have to get to some rather dangerous ingredients to obtain, like the egg, like the feather of a rock. Or is it a griffin? It's a griffin. Or a feather of a griffin. And a fruit of compassion, which can only be given by a certain magical tree. And a magical tree that was once a human. In fact, you can help them remember that they were once human and get the fruit, and that's all you can do because someone else has to fulfill her story of freedom. You have to head through. You must get various things. You must trick the beast, which will be hostile to you, but you have to distract it so you're able to give it the medicine it needs, or the potion it needs, and it reveals that they were an assistant to an evil sorcerer and receiver named Ad Avis. First time you hear the name Ad Avis in this game. You will have to go through many challenges before you do everything. If you do everything and rid all the elements beforehand, which you should do, because you're going to need some of that stuff, you will get pin from the katas. This is important. It's a very special pin. Now, of course, once you get everything, and even if you want, there's a there's a joke item that I think Owl had an influence on in the game. X-ray specs that do work in a certain situation, which, yes, I did in the game. But once you get, all the stuff done you need to do, and there's a group, like if you play the fighter, you'll have to endure a little prove your worth to the local group of fighters type thing. If you are playing a thief, you will have some crimes you'll have to commit in the city. And of course, you can't be seen by the guards when you're in the plazas, when you pick a lock or if you use magic. You can do it on the streets all you want or in the desert, but you can't do it in public. And I forgot to mention that you have, of course, Groucho Marx in the game as the used Saurus lot owner. You also have to deal with your Saurus occasionally sneaking into the city. This is also, and the one when you go to talk to Aziza about things. This is when you find out the Saurus follows you, and you find out this was the Emir of Rasir. Well, now we know where the Emir disappeared to. And you have to get this all done by day 16. Or is it? Yeah, I think it's day 16. Well, it's one of those days. To which you now head out on a caravan to Rasir, and you are given a warm welcome in Rasir by the guards. Seems Adavis is already aware that you are making your way to Rasir. And so once that is done, everybody heads through, you head into the Blue Parrot Inn. It's a dead blue parrot. It's a Norwegian blue. Obvious Monty Python joke to put in there. It's pining for the fjords. You meet Ferrari, who runs the inn, and he has taken a slight shine to you. Of course, if you are a thief, he will ask you to steal a falcon. Possibly a Maltese one. The inn is not the best, and you can only get into the room at night, and of course you shouldn't be out on the streets at night. You find out about a very interesting fellow who could be a help, but they make a show of arresting him for smuggling water. Of course, as you're on the way back, you get, quote, waylaid by apparently the true Emir's daughter, who does not want to marry the captain of the guards and needs a way to get out of the town, which, of course, you have to give her clothing and your visa. Of course, she gets away. In fact, while she's changing, you can actually This is where the X-ray glasses come in handy. Come in for the fun part there. Pixelated nudity, or near nudity. Once you help her and let her get out of there before you leave, you head back to the inn, wake up the next morning, and as you leave the inn, you end up being arrested and thrown in the prison, where you find a missing kata. All your belongings, save your pin, is left on a table outside the cell. The pin is a very special magical pin because it cannot be seen by untrustworthy people. And so the the pin is a tip off to this kata that you are a friend and an ally. And so you two escape the cell, head through a passageway after getting your stuff, and go to head back to the inn, only to get waylaid by Adavis, who uses his powers to persuade you to go with him to the desert to open the tomb where a very powerful, very dark genie, Iblis, is imprisoned. Now, you have to work through some, quote, trials related to the various elements before reaching the treasure room and going through that to find the statue in question. Of course, once you get the statue, Adavis teleports in, takes the statue, disappears, leaves you imprisoned there, thus breaking the control he had over you. And of course, you discover a ring that had a djinn in it, a good djinn, who will give you a boost in certain two abilities and teleport you to where the statue is, but not directly to it. You have to work your way in. And of course, you will have ways, depending on the actions you took. I mean, for a thief, it's going to be easier sneaking into the harem room and sneak it through there. That's why you should help the princess escape. You can use spells to make progress. Stuff like Razzle Dazzle, Calm, others to, get you in the gate. Get up to an area where you must also take care of the captain of the guards, who's not too thrilled that Adavis is performing a magical ceremony when things are going to hell. The rebels are attacking. And you use your methods to get past the guy. Either fight or distract, or you cast some magic on him or on the area. And then you have to basically go into the central chamber that Adavis was in, where he waits and is summoning performing the sending of Iblis, who will descend the area into darkness, literally. Of course, to cause problems, you have to do something that would disrupt the magical circle. course, you have to be ready for him to retaliate and then do something to cause him to, quote, off himself. And thus you say both Shapir and Rasir, becoming the hero of Shapir as well as the hero of Spielberg. In fact, you've done such a good job of things that the Sultan, who was actually the poet, good cover, basically names you his son. And we have a time then of peace, to which the game advertises the next installment, which was supposed to be Shadow of Darkness, or Shadows of Darkness. That did not happen, but they got put a game in between it called Wages of War, which will be the next one I play, if I haven't started it by now, at least by the time this video premieres. It is a fun game, although it is probably regarded of the complete series of Quest for Glory games as the least of it. And that's in part probably because you don't necessarily do a lot of fighting if you stay in the city. But it is still a decent game. And of course, it varies with which class you play. But that's all I'm going to say about Quest for Glory 2 Trial by Fire. And I hope you enjoyed what I had to say this. I invite you to, as always, check out all the videos that are on my check out all the videos on my channel. And until next time, take care all and have fun. Bye.